News of the killing of Yahya Sinwar, the Hamas leader behind the October 7th attacks on Israel, spread rapidly 2 Thursday mornings ago. It was the first day of Sukkot. Within an hour of President Biden being informed, the information was already circulating on Twitter and Telegram. DNA tests soon confirmed Sinwar's death, and photos and videos of his mangled dead body quickly became accessible online. The speed with which this information was disseminated is a hallmark of our digital age. However, for those of us who observe Shabbat and the holidays, the news reached us in a slower and more personal manner. I learned about it from our facilities manager, Danny. He pulled me aside during services that morning to tell me about it after Gail, our program director, sent him a text message to find me and to tell me. The same thing just happened a few minutes ago. Julio's here, and Gail sent him a text message saying, Israel attacked Iran, go tell the rabbi. In Riverdale, New York, Congressman Richie Torres announced the news to a synagogue he was visiting. He happened to have been there that Thursday morning, and nobody knew. He later tweeted, quote, announcing the news of Sinwar's death to an audience that felt an approaching sense of closure is a moment I will never forget, end quote. For many Sabbath-observant Jews, the news of Sinwar's death came not through a screen, but through a neighbor, a friend, or a fellow congregant on the way to or from synagogue. And I would submit that there is something deeply beautiful and refreshing about that experience. I'm not talking about the fact that it was good news, which it was, but about the fact that it was news received directly from another person. We live in a world perpetually soaked in news, social media, and information. The late Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, who passed away in 1972, described the world we live in, quote, as an age of technical civilization that creates an artificial environment to shield us from the natural rhythms of life, end quote. I wonder what he would write if he was alive today. I don't think he would speak of an environment that just shades us, but perhaps one that completely removes us from the natural rhythms of life. Our environment overwhelms us with notifications and updates, often distorting the way we experience life. The Torah, however, offers an alternative. It is a profound model for disconnecting and reconnecting in a meaningful way. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and after 6 days of creation, God rested. Vayichal Elohim bayom hashvi'i, mikol melachto asher asa, vayishbot bayom hashvi'i, mikol melachto asher asa, vayivarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i, vayikadesh oto, ki vo shavat mikol melachto asher bara Elohim la'asot. By the 7th day, God had finished the work he had been doing, so on the 7th day he rested from all his work, and God blessed the 7th day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. This concept of rest, of stepping away from work and constant creation, is woven into the fabric of our faith from the very, very, very beginning. Shabbat is not merely a break from labor. It is an invitation to disengage from the noise and the distractions of the world and to immerse ourselves in the sacred, in our families, in our community, and in our relationship with God. The great sages Rashi and Ramban highlight that Shabbat is not just about physical rest, but about the renewal of the spirit. By unplugging from the chaos of everyday life, we reconnect with our souls and our Creator. On Shabbat, we turn off our devices, disconnect from media, and step away from the never-ending flood of information. That is necessary to create a space where you can have genuine connection, whether that's with loved ones or through prayer or through study. The attention is to create sacred detachment, which allows us to experience life more authentically. When we disconnect, we gain the clarity to see what truly matters and to engage fully in the moment. We honor our relationships, build community, and reconnect with the divine. Think about how important that is today, much more than it ever was in the past. Outside of this sacred time, the noise is relentless. We live in a world where every moment is filled with breaking news, urgent notifications, information that demands immediate attention. Our phones buzz, screens light up, and our minds are drawn into the endless chatter of the digital world. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, a sage from the Talmud, reminds us that there is no real peace in the world except for that which is found in the silence of the soul. Without that silence, our souls become overwhelmed and fragmented. They become damaged. They don't know what peace is supposed to feel like. And that is particularly important when it comes to the way we receive news. The experience of Shabbat and Yom Tov observers learning about Sinwar's death through personal connections means that we receive the news unmediated. Rather than absorbing information from a sensationalized media outlet or social media post, we heard the news directly from someone we know and trust. There was no spin, no sensationalism. There is something profoundly human about that. News delivered with empathy and understanding, rather than through a screen which is designed to evoke emotional reactions. It is also in this week's Parsha when God declares, Lo tov heyot adam levado. It is not good for man to be alone. We are created as social beings, meant to engage deeply with one another. Shabbat creates the space for these genuine face-to-face interactions. It encourages us to build relationships and receive news and information in a way that strengthens community rather than isolating us. In a society where digital media often amplifies fear and anxiety, Shabbat allows us to experience life grounded in real human connection. One final point, observing Shabbat also challenges the norms of our fast-paced world. While society values constant productivity and instant responses, Shabbat offers a different rhythm. It was nice to hear about Sinwar's death instantly, but only because it gave us more reason to be joyful on the holiday. It really didn't affect my life one way or the other, and 99% of the news that we receive probably doesn't affect our lives one way or another, certainly not in the moment. It can wait. Receiving news unmediated from a friend or a neighbor reminds us that not everything requires an immediate response. Shabbat affords us the time to process information thoughtfully, with clarity, with intention, rather than reacting impulsively. In the Talmud, it is noted that one who honors Shabbat is likened to a king or queen, suggesting that this person controls their time and controls their presence rather than being enslaved by societal standards. Furthermore, Maimonides in the Mishnah Torah suggests that the sanctity of Shabbat extends beyond mere observance. It transforms the individual. He writes that by observing Shabbat, one becomes, quote, a different person with different concerns. Focus not on material gain, but on spiritual fulfillment and connection with the divine, end quote. This transformation, I would offer, is essential in our era, where the digital economy often reduces individuals to data points and consumers. Shabbat helps us reclaim our dignity, reclaim our spiritual identity, ensuring that our worth is not tied to productivity or social media presence, but to our relationships with God and with our community. Shabbat prioritizes presence over efficiency. Returning to Bereishit, we see that when God rested on the seventh day, he sanctified it. Vayikadesh oto. Similarly, when we choose sacred detachment, we sanctify our own lives. We reclaim our humanity in a world dominated by screens and technology. Shabbat offers a countercultural model, urging us to reclaim that space for what truly matters. And in our social media-saturated world, Shabbat's call for rest and disconnection is not only beneficial, folks, it is essential. It gives us the clarity to understand that beyond the headlines and notifications, our strength and renewal come from our spiritual roots. Observing Shabbat as the Torah instructs is a way of reclaiming our power to live intentionally and in harmony with the world around us. Rabbi Sachs once said, Shabbat is not just a day of rest, it is the embodiment of freedom. In a society where digital connections often masquerade as human connections, Shabbat reminds us of true freedom, the freedom to unplug, to connect authentically, and to experience life as it was meant to be lived. May we all find the strength for sacred disconnection, to unplug, to reconnect, and to rediscover the sanctity of our lives. Shabbat Shalom.